I thought this morning I'd talk a little bit about my old school district, which is Washoe County School District, and it's located in northern Nevada. Nevada school districts are not like most states, which are municipal, or in the case of Hawaii, the whole state's a school district. This state, the counties are actually the school districts. So a school district like Washoe County School District, it could be very huge. Not to mention Clark County, which I think is the 5th largest in the United States. Of course, that's Las Vegas and Henderson area. But Washoe County has about 65,000 students and a whole slew of schools. I don't remember how many. They keep building new ones all the time. But the other day, they had this really marathon school board meeting, and it was the first in-person meeting that they had for in about 6-7 months. And you can see there, looking at the video, still there's lots of social distancing outside of that building, which is Spanish Springs High School, and that's out in the Sparks area. There were protesters, dozens of protesters, teachers, parents, all of them terrified that this school district is still going to go ahead and open with students on Monday. They've put off for a week the students coming in. They start school way early, way too early in that district. So they open about the second week of August, and then but they also have 3 weeks, I think, off for winter break, and at least 2 weeks off for spring break, and then there's a fall break. That's how they've done it. That's been different than when I was there. But anyway, Washoe County has a pretty high incidence of COVID-19. I believe they have about 6,000 cases total since this thing started. And they have about 121 deaths. So there's a lot of fear because there's no real guidance. And what shocks me is their metrics down there, and maybe it's because it's a bigger area, I don't know, but their metrics down there says it should not be reopened if there are 100 cases per 100,000. I guess that's how the metrics go. And that's awful high. In Oregon, the schools cannot be opened at all, with the exception of some rural districts, some targeted populations, if that metric goes above 5 per 100,000. So it's a huge difference there. And I believe what I've seen is that, if I remember right, is that Washoe County's metric is about double what the health department down there says they should have to be able to reopen with students. So it's like 200 per 100,000. But that's outrageously high. At least, I'm not an epidemiologist, I don't know. But the teachers down there are pitching a fit because they are afraid they're going to get COVID-19. There are some schools already that have staff that have come down with COVID-19 and kids that have had COVID-19, and it's just scary as hell. And the big trouble is with Washoe County and all these Nevada school districts is the teachers have really no protections. They have no real protections at all from termination. They have a union, so-called, but the public employees down there can't strike. Unlike Oregon, that's probably one of the reasons that the metric is so low. They have such a low bar a high bar, I should say, a high bar in order to reopen the schools. It's because the teachers and the classified staff won't tolerate it, that they're going into a dangerous situation. But down there, hey, it's whatever the superintendent wants. The superintendent is not a health officer. And she is deciding they're going to show up Monday. They're going to go ahead and they're going to show up Monday, and there is not one thing the teachers can do about it. Some teachers have already taken retirement because of this. They've taken early retirement. They don't want to deal with this. But they're going to still try to get substitutes to come in if there's no teachers, or if they have a shortage of teachers that show up. But it's terrifying. And I don't know, they had, in this meeting, which, like I said, it went on probably past midnight, some of these fools were kind of dumb. Oh, God. I mean, and I would excerpt them, but see what they said.
You some ways in my head that I think can fix mine and others' fears. But think about putting an allocation freeze at our schools. Because at 50% capacity, there's no way if we lose teachers can we fit all those students in those classrooms. I currently am over my classroom capacity. Luckily, some of those kids are distant, but if they decide to come back, where do they go?
Oh,
and then if I get taken away as a teacher, that means my 22 kids go to the rest of my other fellow cohorts. Where do those kids go? They talk about socialization and collaboration, but how can we possibly do that with students 3 feet apart? But I can tell you that based off of my Zoom meetings during our spring semester, that I had powerful conversations in my small group. But I cannot do that if my kids are 3 feet apart. However, I do want to say that if you're going to make us go back, then we need to do better. We all need to do better. Everyone, do better. Dawn and water isn't going to be enough. 3 feet isn't enough. The white cloth that I received to cover my face isn't enough. We are less than a week away, and there are still so many unanswered questions. Go to our schools and ask these teachers, do they feel ready? Do they know what they're teaching? The answer is no. We are in limbo, and we are less than a week away. So I stand here before you just to say I want to go back, but we just aren't ready. And at what cost are we willing to risk the lives of our community? Thank you.
Yeah, and she's just one of several teachers and other staff that came there and gave their public comment about how scared to death they are to return to work on Monday. But hey, the superintendent, hey, we've already pushed it back a week. Well, yay, they pushed it back here 2 weeks here in Oregon, and those kids are not allowed to set foot on the school premises for at least 6 weeks. It changes from week to week. They have like weekly or bi-weekly meetings with the governor and with their Oregon Department of Education and with the health officials and stuff. And so it's all constantly being revised. But the kids are not going to be allowed on the campus on September 8th when the schools officially reopen, and they're opening two weeks or a week later. So, but this superintendent, hey, she just said, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to do it. That's too bad. And I don't know if I said it earlier, but she is the 5th superintendent this school district has had in 10 years. And they had Paul Dugan, and he retired. Then after him, it was Heath Morrison. and Heath Morrison was only there for a couple of years, and then he went to Charlotte, North Carolina, and I think he got fired there. So now he's with McGraw-Hill as an executive of some type. And then replacing him was Pedro Martinez, and Pedro Martinez didn't have any education background as a teacher or administrator before he went in, but he was an accountant. But there was a move to get rid of him. The board didn't want him anymore, but they violated the open meeting law. So he sued, and he got a settlement for something like $700,000, probably, plus other stuff. And he's over, I think, still over at San Antonio School District in Texas. And then his replacement was somebody associated with him that was in Vegas, because he came up from Vegas, originally from Chicago. But that woman, Tracy Davis, she was canned last year by the board, and she's suing, so she'll probably get a big settlement. And she was replaced by this lifer, I call them lifers, Kristen McNeil. And she was officially made a superintendent not that long ago. She's been an interim. And now they're all up in arms over the decision she's making. So what a dysfunctional school district. And I wish the teachers could do something about it. But when you don't have the right to strike, and you have a right to work state where you don't even have to belong to this quote-unquote union, and really, if I were down there now, I would not join it because of the person that they have in the executive director job. He was the one who railroaded me out of Washoe County School District when he was head of human resources. But anyway, when you don't have the right to strike, and you have this right to work stuff, you're going to be treated worse than a McDonald's worker.